Hello, and welcome to Australian Citizenship class on YouTube, Episode 18. Today's episode is taken from Part 2 of Australian Citizenship, Our Common Bond. We're going to have a look at responsibilities and privileges of Australian citizenship on pages 20 and 21. When you become an Australian citizen, you will have additional responsibilities and privileges. Responsibilities are what you will give Australia. Privileges are what Australia will give you. Let's have a look at the responsibilities of Australian citizenship. As an Australian citizen, you must obey the laws of Australia. Our representatives in government make laws to maintain an orderly, free, and safe society and to protect our rights. All Australian citizens and other people in Australia must obey the laws of Australia. As an Australian citizen, you must vote in federal and state or territory elections and in a referendum. Voting is an important responsibility, right, and privilege for all Australian citizens aged 18 years or over. It is a responsibility for Australian citizens aged 18 years or over to vote in federal and state or territory elections, and in a referendum, which is a vote to change the Australian Constitution. The Australian Constitution is a rule book for Australia. It contains Australia's laws. By doing this, Australian citizens have a say in how Australia is governed and contribute to its future. Voting is compulsory in federal and state or territory elections. It may not be compulsory to vote in local government elections in some states. As an Australian citizen, you must defend Australia should the need arise. While service in the Australian Defence Force is voluntary, a responsibility for Australian citizens is to defend Australia should the need arise. It is vital that all Australian citizens be committed to joining together to defend the nation and its way of life if necessary. Can you think of a time in history when Australians came together to defend our nation and those of our allies? In Episode 10, we learned about Anzac Day, which commemorates the Anzac Battle at Gallipoli on the 25th of April, 1915. This was the first major military action for the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps, or ANZACs, during World War I. As an Australian citizen, you must serve on a jury if called to do so. Jury service, if requested, is a responsibility for Australian citizens aged 18 years or over. A jury is a group of ordinary Australian men and women who listen to the evidence in a court case and decide if a person is guilty or not guilty. Australian citizens who are on the electoral roll can be called to serve on a jury. Jury service helps to ensure that the court system is open and fair. Let's say the key words together. Responsibilities of Australian citizenship. Obey the laws. Vote in elections. Defend Australia. Serve on a jury. Let's have a look at the privileges of Australian citizenship. As an Australian citizen, you can apply for work in the Australian Public Service and the Australian Defence Force. A privilege of Australian citizenship is to apply for a job in the Australian Public Service and work for the Australian government, for example, in Services Australia or the Australian Taxation Office, or ATO. Australian citizens also have the right to apply for a job in the Australian Defence Force, the Army, Navy, and Air Force. As an Australian citizen, you can seek election to Parliament. Australian citizens who are aged 18 years or over and who are not dual citizens, that is, citizens of two countries, can seek election to Parliament at the federal, state, or territory level. It is an honour and a serious responsibility to serve in an Australian Parliament. As an Australian citizen, you can apply for an Australian passport and re-enter Australia freely. When you become an Australian citizen, you have the right to live freely in Australia. You also have the privilege to apply for an Australian passport. If you travel overseas as an Australian citizen, you are free to return to Australia without the need for a visa. As an Australian citizen, you can ask for consular assistance from an Australian official while overseas. In many countries, Australia has an embassy, high commission, or consulate. While you are overseas, you can ask for help from an Australian government official in times of need. This includes in the case of emergencies, such as civil unrest and natural disasters. Australian officials can also help Australian citizens overseas with the issue of an emergency passport and advice and support in the case of an accident, serious illness, or death. When in another country, you must obey the laws of that country. As an Australian citizen, you can apply for children born overseas to become Australian citizens by descent. Let's say the key words together. Privileges of Australian citizenship. Apply for government or defence jobs. Seek election to Parliament. Australian passport. Consular assistance. Citizenship by descent. Let's have a look at a practice test question. Which of the following is true? A. Australian citizens can get an Australian passport. B. Permanent residents can get an Australian passport. C. Australian citizens need a visa to enter Australia. We saw on page 22 that one of the privileges of Australian citizenship is applying for an Australian passport and re-entering Australia freely. So A, Australian citizens can get an Australian passport, is the correct answer. That's it for today's episode. If you have any questions, please write them in the comments section. I'll do my best to help in any way I can. If you found this video helpful, please click on like and subscribe to help me grow this channel. This will also help you see when new episodes are ready to watch. See you in the next episode!